What would you do if you found out your husband was having a secret affair with your own sister, and then years later she begged you for one of your kidneys to save her life? My story is a wild ride of ultimate betrayal and brutal karma. If you love satisfying revenge stories, make sure to hit that subscribe button right now because this one is absolutely insane. So I was married to my husband, Ryan. He was 32 at the time, and we had been married for 6 years. We had a really strong relationship. Sure, we had the usual couple drama over the years, but we always grew from it and had a very loving marriage. Everything was perfectly fine until about 8 months ago, when my 28-year-old sister Star moved back to our hometown. She had been living in Florida since she was 18. Her long-term boyfriend had dumped her and moved to a new city, leaving her completely destitute. The real reasons behind their sudden breakup are still a huge mystery. When Star came back, she told us that he had been cheating on her with men. I did not really know the guy that well, but that sounded incredibly far-fetched to me. I had only met him 3 times because my sister would only come home for Christmas and usually only stayed for 3 to 4 days. He came with her twice during their 5 years together. The only other time I met him was when Ryan and I visited them for a day during our vacation 3 years ago. He just did not strike me as the kind of guy who would lead a double life and leave Star with absolutely nothing. And hey guys, if you are enjoying the story so far, do me a huge favor and subscribe to the channel for more crazy daily stories. I tried to reach out to him once but found out I was blocked, so I just let it go. Star moved back in with my parents, Gina, who is 55, and Jimmy, who is 56. For the first month she was back, she really struggled to find a job. I suggested that maybe Ryan could help her out since he is a higher up at his company, and I figured he would have some pull. He did. And she was able to get a position in his department. It was a job right in her field. Now, just to give you some background, my sister and I have never been very close. She was always the golden child, at least to our mom, and my dad is totally spineless when it comes to her. It was not always super obvious, just a million little unfair things. For example, we both got cars when we turned 16, but I got an 8-year-old Dodge Neon, and she got a 2-year-old Mitsubishi Eclipse. Her dance practices, outfits, and competitions cost thousands of dollars over the years. Some of those competitions were 6 or 7 hours away, and my parents never batted an eye. Meanwhile, when I would ask for $50 for a volleyball or basketball camp at the local college, they would give it to me, but they acted like I was asking them to build me my own personal arena. What pissed me off the most was when I was 17, I was out with my boyfriend, lost track of time, and came home 15 minutes past curfew. They took my car away for a whole month for that. But the very next year, when my sister came home 2 hours late and smelled like pot, she just got a stern talking to. Just taking a quick pause here to remind you that if you are hooked on this family drama, please take a second to hit subscribe because it gets even wilder from here. So honestly, I was not exactly sad when she left for college and decided to stay in Florida. Despite all of that history, she began spending more and more time at our house. At first, I thought it was nice. I figured maybe she was finally making an effort to be closer to me. But then I started to notice that she and Ryan were getting really familiar with each other. They would talk about seemingly anything at length, and they even started having their own inside jokes. If I tried to include myself, they would just brush it off and say it was just a work thing. When I asked my husband about it, he just said they had a lot in common and were working on several projects together at the office. The first real red flag was after about a month of this. She would be at our house waiting when I got home from work. Ryan and I have different schedules. He works a traditional 8 to 4:30 day while I work from 10 to 7. This started happening pretty often. When I asked about it, I always got the same excuse that they had some work stuff to finish up. Then 2 months ago, I noticed something that literally had me questioning my own sanity. I make the bed every single day before I leave for work. I always make it so the open side of the pillowcase is facing the edge of the bed. Star was over that day. When I got home, she ate with us and then went back to the house of my parents. As we got into bed that night, I noticed 2 of the pillows had the cases turned inward toward the middle. If you want to support the channel, hitting that subscribe button right now would be absolutely amazing. I asked my husband if he had been in bed that day. He looked a little panicked, but said no and asked why I was wondering. I told him the bed was not the same as I had made it that morning. He told me I must have been mistaken because no one was in the bed. I ended up looking through his phone and laptop without him knowing, but I found nothing. Then again, they worked together 8 hours a day, 5 days a week, and hung out after work. So why would they even need to text? I felt like I was losing my mind. 2 weeks ago, my parents invited us over for dinner. It was going fine until I saw something insane. Ryan was just walking by, and Star lightly grabbed his arm. He turned to her, and she whispered something. Then they touched foreheads together. It was only for a second. Ryan jolted up and kept walking while Star just kind of looked at me, smiled, and went back to what she was doing. I am not an idiot. I knew this was a mountain of red flags, but I just did not want to believe it. I had been in love with my husband since I was 21 years old. I planned a weekend getaway to the city, intending to ask him about everything there. I really hoped it was not what I was thinking. Well, guys, you were all right, and my world was absolutely destroyed. We went on our weekend adventure and had a nice Friday night. We had drinks, we danced, and we were intimate. The next day we had more planned, and I almost did not say anything. I really thought he could not possibly be doing that with her, and this with me. I was so wrong. We were almost ready to start our Saturday when I point blank asked him if he was having an affair with my sister. He teared up and said yes he was. My heart was crushed. Quick pause to say, if you hate toxic family members as much as I do, smash that subscribe button for more crazy stories just like this one. I asked him why, and he said he was sorry and did not mean for it to happen. He claimed they just clicked, and before he knew it, they were kissing, and then more. I asked him if he had been sleeping with her in our bed before I got home from work. He just turned his head in absolute shame. I left right at that moment. I had nothing with me but my purse, and I drove home without him. He got an Uber and arrived a few hours later with the rest of my things. He tried to apologize, but I completely ignored him through my tears. He packed a bag and left for a hotel. The next day, I told my parents, but it turned out they already knew. They said they were sorry about what happened and told me Star had left the night before and might not be back for a few days. I am sure she went to stay with Ryan. That all happened 3 months ago. Our divorce is almost final now. Ryan found an apartment to rent right away, and Star moved right in with him. I only contacted him regarding our divorce. At first, he said I could just have the house and all the savings. I think that was just his guilt talking, but after a few days, he changed his tune and said we would have to split the house. I know for a fact that was Star whispering in his ear. Luckily, I had already moved everything out of our joint savings into a new account, so there was no fight there. Just like that, 9 years of my life were gone. He really has no idea what he is getting himself into. She is a total narcissist and will eventually throw him away. Star has been exceedingly cruel during this entire process. A few days after I found out, she tagged me in a Facebook post. It was a selfie of her and him with him kissing her on the cheek from behind. The caption said, "Feeling loved." If you want to know what these toxic people did next, you have to subscribe right now because you will not believe the audacity. It was absolutely disgusting. I logged out of my account and deleted the app off my phone entirely. She texted me about an hour later saying, "Sorry, sis, did not mean to tag you and no hard feelings." She said she hoped we could still be close and that I would meet my soulmate someday too. I blocked her immediately. I blocked her on everything I could possibly think of. My parents have not been any better either. They pretended to be sympathetic in the beginning, but when I told them I was going no contact with Star and Ryan, my mother looked at me and said she was sorry this happened and it should not have happened this way. But then she actually said, "Your sister deserves to be happy too." She told me I would meet someone and then we could put this all behind us. I got extremely upset and told them what Star had tagged me in and the text she sent me. My mother just dismissed it and said, "Well, you should not be on that stuff anyway. My father has not said a single thing this whole time. He just sits there." I asked him once what he thought about all of this, and he just said he agreed with my mother and walked right out of the room. I am going full no contact with them as well. The house will sell soon, and I am moving to a completely different state. I am not telling any of my family where or when I am going. I have not even told them that is my plan. I am just done with all of them, and I truly wish them all the worst. Fast forward 4 years, and I had a major update for everyone. I am now engaged. Do not forget to hit subscribe if you love seeing cheaters get exactly what they deserve, because karma is coming. It took a lot of therapy to get myself back out there. I tried dating right away once I got settled here in Minnesota. I went on one okay first date, and then the guy showed me just how much of an insufferable jerk he was. I swore off men completely after that. That is when I went to therapy to deeply process all the trauma from the betrayal by my husband and sister, as well as the abandonment by my parents. It was a really hard year, but then I met James. He is 37, and yes, he happens to have the same first name as my dad, which is kind of funny, but James is a wonderful man. He is a chef, and he and his fraternal twin brother, Jack, own a restaurant and bar that is doing incredibly well. I am so excited to start a future with him. But enough about me, let us talk about the sheer audacity my family had. Roughly 9 months after I left and had been completely no contact, I came home to my apartment and found a wedding invitation in the mail. I never told them where I moved. I only told a few friends and a couple of cousins I was close to. The invitation was for the wedding of Ryan and Star. It included a gross picture of them hugging in a sunflower field. There was also a letter from my parents. It basically told me that I needed to forgive and put all this behind us. They said they knew things did not go the best, but we are a family, and families work through problems. They even claimed that Star wanted me to be a bridesmaid, just like she was for me. What the actual hell? That letter reopened all sorts of old wounds for me. At the time, my therapist got a lot more business because of it. Today, I find it completely hilarious, but back then, it was really hard. If you are loving this satisfying comeback story, please hit subscribe right now. I did not respond to them at all. The only thing I did was figure out which part of my extended family leaked my address, and I completely cut them off as well. That brings us to some massive drama. Ryan, of all people, suddenly showed up at my apartment building. James and I do not live together yet, but that will be changing very soon. Ryan looked way too good, like he was really trying to look his best when he showed up. I just looked at him and asked what he wanted. He said he just wanted to talk and that he was so sorry for what he did. He dropped the bomb that he and Star were divorcing because he figured out she was unfaithful their entire marriage. Surprise, surprise. He said he did not expect me to take him back, but thought we should talk and get some closure for both of our sakes. I literally did a double blink because he had clearly lost his mind. I looked him right in the eye and told him absolutely no. I told him I would give him no closure. He made his own bed. I asked him if he really thought that golden girl of hers that had seen more visitors than a cheap hotel was suddenly going to close shop just because he put a ring on it. I told him he was even dumber than I thought. I told him I forgive nothing and I want absolutely nothing from him. I do not care about his closure because I am better off now, and that will always be the case. I literally told him he could go to hell. Then I turned around, went back into my apartment, and locked the door behind me. I immediately called my landlady, who is the sweetest old lady in the world. I have gotten pretty close to her over these 4 years, and she knows all about my previous marriage. Ryan was still just loitering out in the hallway. A few minutes later, her 2 nephews, who help maintain the apartment grounds, showed up. Just a quick reminder, guys, to hit that subscribe button if you want to hear how this wild confrontation ends. They let Ryan know he was not welcome there and was officially on a banned list. They told him if he ever returned, the police would be called for trespassing. I was really hoping that would be the end of it, but of course it was not. I have a fairly easy 9-to-5 work schedule now. Because of that, I go to the restaurant James runs almost any night he is managing. I do not get in the way, I just hang out and enjoy the few minutes here and there that he can spend with me. I have become good friends with a lot of the staff, which includes a lot of the family of Jack and James. It really is the family environment I always wished I had. I was sitting there the very next night when Ryan walked right in and came to sit at my table. It was a slow Tuesday. James noticed him and immediately came over to check on me. He recognized Ryan from photos I had shown him. Ryan stuck his hand out to shake, but James just stared at it and asked me if I wanted him to kick this guy out. I said not yet because I had a question or two. Ryan perked up like he was winning something. What a complete tool. I asked him to tell me exactly what happened between him and Star. I will admit it was purely out of morbid curiosity. He told us she was having at least 2 affairs with married men. I guess old habits die hard. He said this was 2 years into their marriage and it was a tough time for him. I rolled my eyes and interrupted him. I told him he could not be that dumb and asked if he protected himself financially or if she got half of everything. Ryan replied really smugly that he stuck it out almost another year with her so he could start stowing away savings and secretly sell off some assets. He said in the end, she got a tiny fraction of what she would have gotten. I asked what happened to her after that. Hey guys, we are nearing the huge finale, so please hit subscribe right now to support the channel. Ryan smiled and said she had to move back in with my parents all over again. I felt so satisfied. I said a loud yes and thanked him, telling him that was exactly what I wanted to hear. I told him he could leave now and told James to get him out of the restaurant. Ryan tried to argue, saying he wanted to stay, but I cut him off. I yelled no forgiveness and no closure. I just wanted to know my loser sister was back living at home. James stood tall and pointed directly at the door. Ryan looked around and saw he was being glared at by the bartender and 2 members of the wait staff. He tucked his tail and turned towards the door. James told him if he ever came back, the cops would be called for trespassing. After he was gone, almost everyone around came to check on me. It was nice, but a little embarrassing. The parents of James, who I absolutely adore, called me that night. They practically demanded I stay with James the next couple of days just to be safe. It was really sweet, and I have never had a family look after me like this before. I did not hear from Ryan again and hoped I never would. Fast forward a few more years, and I have another massive update. I am now a 41-year-old mother of 2 boys who are 6 and 2. James and I are doing amazing. I work as a part-time office manager for the restaurants. A cousin bought into the business, and we opened a second location 3 years ago. It has been a lot more work, but with the 3 of them staying heavily involved, we are very successful. And it gives everyone some personal time. I am pretty sure I got pregnant staying with James when his parents demanded I do so. They joke now that they always wanted to be grandparents, and it was all part of their master plan. Now for the crazy family drama. After Ryan tracked me down, I figured it was only a matter of time before my parents or sister showed up. It did not happen right away, so I eased up a bit. Only one more part left. Guys, make sure you are subscribed before the ultimate drop. I felt I had a full support system, so I rejoined social media. I stayed no contact with much of my family, including the extended ones, but I knew they could find me if they really tried. It was not until after our first son was born that I got a message from my mom. She gave a completely half-hearted apology, mumbled something about forgiveness, and inquired about her grandson. I was just going to block her, but the implication that my child was her grandchild completely insulted me. I replied that she does not have any grandchildren. I told her I am not her daughter, and thus my children have absolutely no relation to her. I told her if she wanted grandchildren, she should encourage Star to get out there and do what she does best. Then I blocked her. She made new accounts and tried contacting me for a while, but I always just declined or deleted her requests. That brings me to the most recent and shocking drama. I started getting bombarded with messages from them begging me to contact them. I read some of them, and it was just a sob story about missing out on the lives of the grandkids and wanting to make amends. I really did not care and had no intention of ever letting them into my life. But then Star started reaching out to me. She was not saying much other than she very much wanted to speak with me. After this went on for about 3 weeks, I finally agreed to a Zoom meeting. Just me and them with no kids around. When it started, they kept begging to see the kids, but I was steadfast that it would not happen. They already had 3 grandparents, and that was it. I was starting to get the idea that this meeting was about something completely different. Star looked totally terrible, and my parents were looking really old and tired. As we talked, they actually began apologizing for everything that happened. Even Star apologized, saying she was wrong and wished she could have her sister back. That was a completely laughable thought. My mom then took over and went into her usual garbage about being a family and looking out for each other. When she finished, I just looked at them and asked if that was all they had because I was going to log off. They yelled for me to wait, and the fake facade finally dropped. The real reason came out. Apparently, Star has been having severe health issues for the last couple of years. For whatever reason, her kidneys are failing, and she desperately needs a transplant. That is why they were so aggressively trying to contact me. A family member is the most likely to be a viable match. I asked them directly if this was why they called. I asked if they wanted me to save her after what she did. I said, my husband was not enough for her, and now she needs a body part from me too. My mother snapped at me and told me to stop being like this because it was a long time ago. She started choking up and crying, saying she knows I hate them, but Star is going to die if she does not get a transplant soon. She begged me to set my anger aside just this once. I stayed quiet because I wanted to see if they would say more. Eventually, my dad actually spoke up. He said they were sorry for everything, but they had some massive problems. Between her medical bills and not being able to work, my parents were struggling. They were getting older and said they could use some financial help or they might lose their house. I asked him to clarify if he needed my kidney and my money. He told me not to put it like that. Star chimed in begging me to come home. She said she needed her big sister and did not want to die. She asked me to just come and see if I was a match and promised if I was not, they would never contact me again. I told them I needed to think about it, do some research, and that I would give them an answer the next day. I ended the call and talked to James. He supported me completely, whichever way I went. He asked if we should travel as a family or if he should go with me. I said no to both. I decided I was going to go, but I was going completely on my own. I told my former family I would get my lab results done in Minnesota, and if I was a match, I would travel down there to talk about everything else. About a week later, I got the results. It turned out Star and I were an absolute perfect match. I agreed to fly back home to Missouri. By the time I arrived, Star had begun to have serious issues and had to be admitted to the hospital. This actually got everyone off my back about meeting for dinner because I had zero intention of socializing with these people. Every time they had a free minute, my parents kept asking if I had thought about giving them money to fix their financial struggles. They managed to stabilize Star, and I went to meet with the doctors who would perform the transplant. They started going over everything with me, and I told them I wanted to have this conversation with everyone present. We all went straight into the hospital room with Star, where my parents were already waiting. The doctor explained that Star had maybe 6 months left without a new kidney. They made a huge deal about how perfect of a match I was and said the chances of finding a better donor were minuscule. They wanted to schedule the surgery immediately. I stood up, walked right over to the bed of Star, and took her hand. I gazed deeply into her big brown eyes and asked her if she heard what the doctor said. I told her I am a perfect match and essentially the only person in the world who can save her. And then I told her I am not going to do it. I called her the most vile, narcissistic piece of gutter trash I have ever known. I told her I only came all this way so she would know for a fact that the one person who could keep her alive is the exact same person she wronged the most. I told her she is paying for her ultimate betrayal with her own life. I looked her in the eyes and told her she is going to die and she needs to make peace with that. Star instantly burst into heavy tears, and my parents rushed over to scream at me. The doctor and the nurse were just standing there in total shock. I turned to my parents and told them not to even speak to me or ever ask me for anything again. I said the only money I would ever spend on them would be for their funerals, with the strict condition that their ashes be released to me, so I can flush them down the dirtiest public toilet I can find. I walked out of that hospital room and never looked back. I am back home now, surrounded by my real family, and I could not be any happier.